Hello everyone, this is my action research presentation. Luan describes action research as a spiral-like pattern process where the researcher starts from a general idea, then it goes on and on when the researcher develops a plan and carries out the plan until the researcher finds data, rethinks, reflects, and replan the next cycle of the research. Kami's simplified the model, and his model captures the ideas of reconnaissance, planning, first action step, monitoring, reflecting, rethinking, and evaluation as the key components of action research. This is the spiral pattern. It has 3 cycles, and you can see that each cycle contains the same thing, but the only difference is that you reflect on the data you collected and you change something in the next cycle. Personally, I feel like action research is like getting a partial recipe and trying to make cupcakes. You have the things ready for baking and know the ingredients for baking, but not sure exactly the amount of each ingredient I need. The first time I put the ingredients based on my own experience and some prediction. I wait for the predicted time and take it out and taste it and fuse it. It turns out that I put too much sugar, and then I had less baking powder, so I need to try it again, and this time I know that I need to change something. I need to reduce the amount of sugar, but I need to add more baking powder, and I bake it, try it again, taste it, it's still not correct, and I change something again this time until I bake my favorite blueberry cupcake. The context is that I teach 21 first graders math. I have 4 Korean, 1 American, and 16 Chinese students. The school is an English immersion school. We use American English, social study, and science curriculum, Singaporean math, and a local Chinese curriculum for Chinese language. I teach them math 5 days a week, 30 minutes in the morning for formal instruction and 20 minutes in the afternoon for center time, when the students are divided by their level into 4 groups to meet 3 teachers in the classroom, with 1 group do independent work. I only did a small group study, 7 students in my research, 2 Korean students, 5 Chinese students. One of the Korean students joined our class in January with nearly 0 English, and after January we had Chinese break for 3 weeks, so it means that she only was in our class for one month before, like by the time we started the study. The other 2 Chinese students joined the class 1 week before my study with nearly 0 English. Before they came from local Chinese public school, they learned the math in Chinese. The other 4 students joined the class in the beginning of the school year. It means that they already have had half of year English math learning. The problem is that the 7 students in my class struggle in their math. The 3 newcomers have no idea how to take a test. They missed out 1 semester's math learning. They hardly understand what I teach in class. For the 4 old students, their math test score has been very low. Their parents told me that they also don't know how to do their homework at home. They need a lot of translation and help at home. I also noticed that these students need a lot of help reading math test questions to them, while the rest of the class can do the test independently. Within my 3 years of teaching English math to first grade English beginners, I have seen the pattern of students struggle with the math English. From their homework, classwork, and tests, they have to deal with the language as well as the math. It makes math harder for them. If this is at the beginning of the school year, I would have no concerns at all. Now we are in semester 2, most of the students can read the tests and do homework independently, so I feel like I need to do something for these students. I want to find out ways to help them. I would like to use my finding to adjust my teaching. If the problem comes from English, I need to spend more time on English. If it's because of math, I need to spend more time teaching and the concepts and math skills. I did interview, and I also collected a test score. I coded the tests. My question was, do you my interview question was, do you think today's practice is helpful to you? I thought this would be a simple question, but it turned out it was very hard for them. Explained to them in Chinese, and also had a Korean student explain it in Korean and also translated the questions into Korean. However, all the students asked me, helpful for what? I explained it again, how the practice is helpful for them when they take a test. Then I realized that the next time they take a test will be 2 weeks later. How do these 6 and 7 years old kids know if something they do in this week will be helpful in 2 weeks? On top of that, the time I left for them to answer my question was too short. They were in a hurry to go to the next class. They looked at their friend's choice and chose the same thing. All the answers I got were positive, but I could tell some of the kids have no idea what they were doing. For the first few days of my study, I did group interview to ask for students' feedback for each day's practice in a daily basis. After I found out group interview interferes students' judgment about their own idea, I changed to individual interview and also changed the question I asked them. This time the question was, do you like this week's center time? What do you like it about or dislike it about? This time I did the interview at the end of the week. After 4 days of experiencing my intervention, on Friday I pulled students out individually to ask them the question in Chinese and English to the 2 Korean students. This time I was able to get more valid and true answers from my students. Even though it is not directly related to the helpfulness of the practice, I was able to find out their attitude and some reasons behind that attitude towards the things I have tried with them. I collected this test score to see if there is any improvement. I coded the 3 tests. I coded the questions they asked the most during a test. I want to know what types of questions are hard and challenging for them. I also want to know if the problem is from the language or it is from the test itself. These are the data from cycle 1. 7 students, 5 of them they chose smiley face, and they said that some of them said they liked the dictation, and some of them said they liked working on the small whiteboard. Some of them said I like the math manipulatives. 2 students said they didn't like because one of them wanted to go to other groups because other groups are more fun. One of them said that he doesn't like because he was tired and he doesn't like copying and writing words. The test score can't really tell you anything in cycle 1. We will compare it at end of the research. Test code, question 12, A and B are word problems. They contain more than 20 English words. 11, 12. That's why I think they got most of the students asked for help. Question 7 and 5 are multi-step questions. It's hard and tricky. In cycle 2, I worked with them on reading math tests and on the workbook. At first, I demonstrated some reading strategies with them, such as reading the first 3 letters of a long word, looking for math keywords, looking at the pictures, and some simple phonics decoding skills. Later on, I had students take turn to read. They also needed to work on the questions they read. Each one had a mini whiteboard for them to write down their answers. In this way, they also got to practice their math skill and concept. I think I forgot to tell what I did in cycle 1. In cycle 1, I work with them on reading math keywords. I use math manipulatives, whiteboards, drawings to demonstrate the words. And each student also had small whiteboard to practice writing and also did dictation with them. Sorry of that, I forgot. The data for cycle 2, one student disliked the intervention because he already knew how to read. It is boring and there were no math manipulatives for him. The rest of the students chose smiley face. This time I can see, compare with cycle 1, the test score increased huge. And the test code, actually this time the unit was about picture graph. In cycle 1, the unit was adding addition within 40. In cycle 3, I combined what I did in cycle 1 and cycle 2, but I add Chinese to our discussion. However, I was not able to provide Korean for the 2 Korean students. My original plan was to ask another Korean student who is the top English-speaking student in my class to join the 2 Korean students in small groups. They can talk and discuss the keywords and test questions in Korean. However, the boy refused to speak Korean with his Korean classmates. He only speaks English at school. I had no choice, but I excluded the 2 students from my small group. They joined other groups in the class. This time, still the same boy. He still doesn't like the intervention. He likes cycle 1. The rest of the students chose smiley face for similar reason. Chinese translation helps them understand better. But this time, some of the score decreased, and the test code still similar. Tests in cycle 1 and cycle 3 are similar. You can see from the diagram that student G, F, D, C increased and B increased, their test score increased. A and E decreased. A is the boy that he did not like cycle 2 and cycle 3. He only liked cycle 1. Student E, she actually was sick when we took the test, cycle 3 test. She finished the test in 7 minutes. She was coughing and had a fever. I think maybe that's one of the reasons she dropped so much. The students, I also asked them to vote for their favorite practice among the 3 cycles. 60% of them vote for the Chinese translation, like in cycle 3, and 20% liked cycle 1 and cycle 2. So their favorite one is cycle 3. The research was done with only 7 students in a typical context. It is very context-based. There's a huge gap among students' English level. This research tried many different techniques, but not deep enough. Each intervention only lasted 2 weeks. Yet I collected data in the first week. I'm not sure how intervention affect their performance. I was inspired by Turbo B and Evans MS with their research. They did research on the effects of L1 and L2 group discussion on L2 reading comprehension. The results show that those who use L1 in their group discussion applied more higher order processing and reading strategies than those who use L2 in their discussion. The research suggests that L1 discussion has positive effect on students' reading comprehension. That's why I added Chinese in cycle 3's intervention. The rest of the 3 articles were about L1 and math learning among English language learners. They all show that L1 can greatly contribute to students' learning of math. For future research, I feel like that we can focus on how different reading interventions affect English learners' math learning, and we probably also can focus on how to narrow down students' math gaps. And I think that for me, I also would like to know how students L1 affect their math learning, especially within young learners, because math actually is also another language. Now, my question is, what should I do with the 2 Korean students? How do I interpret students' test score? Some of them increased, some decreased. Do I have enough data? Do I need to include my observation? How should I interpret the data I collected? These are some of the references. You can, if you are interested, you can look for them. I feel like I'm really lucky. After I finished my study, I found out another teacher in my school. She did her math. She had a master in math. She did her research kind of similar to mine. So I think later on I will ask her for some help. Thank you very much.